IFA, peace and blessings, family. Welcome to another episode of the Orisha Bemi podcast, where we're talking all things Orisha and all things African spirituality. Today, I have the honor and the pleasure to have this conversation with the program. Baba IFA Karade, I appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation with us, and I'm definitely looking forward to all the words of wisdom that you always seem to have in divine time.
Yeah, well, Lafia Baba, Michelle, for inviting me. It's always a deep experience and a great joy to be a part of your program.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah. So with that, we had a lot going on off here, but I wanted to kind of get into and tap into your process and your lineage. From reading the handbook, I definitely learned a whole lot, and it's taught me a lot of basic fundamentals and it laid a strong foundation for me to build off of amongst my journey into Orisha and African spirituality and reconnecting with the ancestors. But your your lineage and your especially in the priestly sacerdotal order is extremely vast, extremely rich, and it goes deep, deep, deep into a very powerful, very long lineage in terms of who your initiators was and who were the people who kind of led you to becoming to who you are today. So can you kind of share with us just some of your journey and how it came about to be, and then definitely like how deep your lineage goes in terms of who brought you into the next level of your ministry.
All right, now you do realize that we're talking about a long time, and
Right,
I'm an elder,
right,
so
right.
it's quite some territory that we have to.
Right. There's a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, but for the sake of um time and people's overall capacity to stay interested,
Right, right.
I'm going to break it down into phases.
Cool.
Okay. uh Phase one: knowing nothing.
Hmm.
um Having insights and inclinations and listening to whispers in the wind. Yes. Knowledge of cultural deepness, vastness, importance, relativity, continuity, unknown, all the way through 20 something years of my life. Okay. I remember coming up in the 50s, okay, um, under very, very, stressful, you know, and supremacist uh, ideologies heaped upon us as a people. Okay. um, Wreak havoc on the minds of children, you know. And as an elder, I can reflect back and see how damaging it is. At the time when you're a child, you don't really get it. It's just like everything's okay, kind of, sort of, you
Right.
know. But when you get older and then older, and you start looking back through the eyes of ancients, then it's like, that's pretty, tragic.
Right.
Right? So moving from that phase, of unknowing of self, unknowing of spirituality, you know, um, peeling back layers of quote unquote indoctrination, institutions, educational, religious, and in respect to employment.
Mm.
Ceilings were very low and boxes were very small. Okay? And don't dare, kind of try to, stretch out,
Right. Right.
So I think going through that phase is something that we need to face, you know, because if we deny it, then it remains monstrous in ways that we aren't even clearly cognizant of.
Mm.
Okay, that phase of the Alagberi, the unknowing one. Right?
Hmm.
So from that phase, and I'm not going to go through all of them now because you're
Right.
going to have to bring me back. So I'm
Oh yeah.
setting.
It's
Okay.
gonna be a regular thing.
Okay. So
Definitely a regular thing.
if I get through three of the seven, all right. So after kind of coming into realization of some sense of spirituality and basically through music,
Mm.
the music of the time, okay, the political, you know, resonating within the lyrical, within now the introduction of percussion into the Motown sound. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah,
It
absolutely. The drums.
that wasn't there to the wider degree prior to the coming of the latter 50s and the movement of the 60s. Okay. Because now the African drum and the African rhythms and the Afro-Cubans who were coming through and kind of teaching us, the value of the drum as a lyrical voice.
Right.
Okay. This was powerful in terms of opening up the greater possibilities of self, myself.
Right.
Okay. So by the time I'm in college, I'm still churning this out. The protests, the music, the lyrics, the pride of Black people, the institutional confinement. Okay. I dropped out.
Mm.
There was nothing there for me except more of the same. And ironically, I wound up in the military.
Mm.
And people say, well, why'd you do that? I said, well, because the struggle was there too. And if it
Yeah.
wasn't for the Black veterans, a lot of what we were gaining throughout our moment in this land,
Mm.
okay, would not be happening. So why should I dismiss that? Because the same people who are crying about Black people in the military are the same people who are crying about we're not represented. So it's like,
Which way? Which way should?
yeah, you know what I mean? Your confusion should not paralyze me. I
Right.
know what I have to do.
Right.
That said, it left a lot of time for study. It left a lot of time for kind of maturing as a young man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I was getting paid.
Mm.
Okay. And I was put in positions like I was not put in positions prior to that.
Right.
I have my own squad, blah, blah, blah. But see, all this is leading to, and what I'm getting to is a fulfillment of self. There has to be a fulfillment of self that brings us to the gates of our African spirituality.
Right.
You know, other than that, we're just putting on the clothes. We're not really, as true to self as, the words that we speak. Again, we cannot deny that. Just like I can't deny the church. My grandmother took me to church. My mother was a staunch Christian. You
Right.
know what I mean? But through that, okay, I begin to understand how the church as an institution
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now as an historical vice around, the spirit of the African. Okay. But see, if I hadn't gone through that, and at my grandmother's funeral, okay, I was sitting there in the church because I hadn't been to church in a long time, and I'm sitting there and I'm listening to the choir, and I stopped hearing English, and what I started hearing is African tonalities.
Mm.
You see?
Yeah.
So, being able to start to strip away what the institution, wants you to see, as opposed to what the spirit wants you to see,
Right. That's powerful.
right? So now it's like, okay, I'm journeying through, I'm back in college. Uncle Sam is paying for it. I got things the way that I'm playing the chessboard. I'm not the pawn anymore.
Mm.
Okay. And it's like, now I'm studying percussion. Now I'm studying, African history. You see where I'm going?
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
that because of the growth that happened. So I was ready for it. I was ready for it. Okay. And through the percussion vein, I was introduced to Orisha.
Mm.
You
Thunder
see?
and drums. Yes, sir.
Okay. You know, and through the African studies courses that I was taking under noted individuals like Professor Ivan Van Sertima. Okay. I was one of his key students. Okay. And this man went on to become a lady. He was writing the book that came before Columbus when I was his student. We talked about it.
Mm.
Okay. So the whole thing is I was ready for it.
Mm.
Whereas there were other students in the class who were like, I'm just taking a course
Right. Right.
because they couldn't see the greatness. You see, they couldn't see through the eye spirit because they've been institutionalized
And your
to
third eye was open. You
empty.
were open to a
Yeah,
whole other level of consciousness.
well, yeah, but it didn't come without needing it, you know?
Sure.
I think sometimes, people get very comfortable in their spot and in their privilege and in their position that they don't hunger for a revolutionary state of mind.
Mm.
And even that becomes misinterpreted as something that is negating, as something that is, life-threatening, as something that's not going to be accepted by the master, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, so what? Every human mind should be revolutionary. How did they gain control of this country if it wasn't for the Revolutionary War? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
everybody can struggle and fight for what they want, except us. No, 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 no. Okay. No, 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 no. This does not compute. All
Mm.
right. So I navigated through the army, and then I navigated myself back into college, right back to the same one I dropped out from. Okay. And then the spirit domain started to open up, and I was placed at the feet of master teachers.
Mm.
And again, on that one occasion when someone who knew someone who was a part of the percussion classes I was taking gave me a little pamphlet, and it was about Orisha. The first time I ever heard of it in my life. And I was in my early 20s.
Mm.
I never heard the term before, you know. And even through the African studies classes, there was no mention of the Orishas.
Mm.
Even through being involved in, to the marches at the college and, against apartheid in South Africa and la da 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 da, there was no mention of our philosophical, quote unquote, religious embracing of African spirituality as a vital and vibrant part of the new becoming But when I got that little pamphlet, it couldn't have been more than 10, 15 pages.
Mm.
Changed my life. I was done. I was like, I don't know what I was looking for, but I just found it.
Mm.
Okay. So started to study Orisha, started to connect the rhythmic patterns to the study of the culture
Mm.
through the African Studies department. The professor Bethel, okay,
Mm.
just mentioned in passing, oh, well, they have a program where you can apply to go to Kenya, and he said it as a matter of passing. But I was like, what did you just say?
Right.
What
Right.
did you just say?
Right.
I need to talk to you after class, okay? And after the class was over, I sat and talked to him. I did tell me more.
Right.
Because see, I'm listening. I don't know what these other people are doing in here, but
Right.
I'm listening.
Tapped in.
And he laid it out, and I followed up. I took the test. I went through all the changes and challenges. Next thing you know, I'm on the plane going to, daggone Nairobi.
Wow.
You see, but I was ready for it.
Right.
You
Right.
know, I was revolutionary ready.
Mm.
And I wasn't, talking about, you know, doing uh, 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 explosive things,
Right.
but I was talking about, you know, being more. I was talking about implosive things.
Right. Right.
You see, and the next thing you know, I'm in Nairobi, I'm in Mombasa. You know what I mean? I'm up and down the coast. I'm on the border of Tanzania.
Mm.
I'm interacting with my people. I'm seeing things way different than how they were presented about us and,
Oh yeah.
to us.
Mm-hmm.
And then as fate would have it, we couldn't get out. Okay.
Mm.
Not due to anything that was happening in Africa, that someone's screwing up in New York.
Mm.
So we wound up getting to Europe,
Mm-hmm.
Paris and London and Rome.
Mm-hmm.
I spent time in those three cities, but I also spent time in their museums.
Mm.
And I was there so deeply and intently at all of them that people were starting to come to me to ask questions because they thought I was working there.
Wow.
Because I'm taking notes. I'm seeing the magnificent art of Benin. You know what I mean? I'm
Oh
seeing
yeah.
everything that just negated your people didn't come from anywhere. Your people didn't have
Yeah.
anything. You're just basically slaves.
Yeah.
You know?
But yet
And
you
I'm
got it all in all your so-called historical monumental buildings, the museums, the Vatican, and all these other places. Well, if we were nothing but that, then why do you harbor
like,
all the
that's
things that we
bruh.
create?
Right.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I'm like, you see, I get it. But what is it doing to me? What is it doing to me? So I moved from phase one, totally vacuous, empty. That's just not knowing, but no, but sensing. You understand what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
To phase one, or I should call it phase zero, phase zero to phase one,
Mm-hmm.
you know, getting some, tangible, you know, statements of who your culture is and who you are as a result of your knowledge of your culture. Next thing you know, I'm a percussionist. I'm playing in some Afrocentric plays, around the colleges, And now I'm in a funk band. So the percussion of the music, and now I'm starting to kind of see how the Latin flavor, and the jazz flavor and the blues flavor all ties into the African flavor. And I'm like, yeah, I'm proud of this. You understand? And
Mm-hmm.
people are dancing to it, and they're having a great time. We're not struggling. There ain't no beef. Everything is like suave. Everything is cool. You know.
Right.
So you see, being involved in Orisha just isn't. It can't just be about the containment, you know. It has to be about, as you stated, the eagle that spreads its wings
Mm-hmm.
and soars, not to be higher than people, but to be able to sense the power of upliftment, even if people are just lifting up their heads to see me,
Mm.
as opposed to looking down on me,
Right.
you know. So that I moved from phase 0 to phase 1. So now I'm getting really kind of interested in the Orisha and the rhythms and the cultural history, aside from the academic. You see,
Mm-hmm.
these were your civilizations, these were your kings and queens. I say, all right, all that's fine. Okay. But how does that tie in to making changes?
Right.
How does that tie into it? It's nice to read the book. It's nice to know this. Yeah, dude, let's not forget to put 99% of it on your people were enslaved, you know, kind of thing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so now I got to, deal with post-traumatic slavery syndrome. You know what I mean? And
Right.
and kind of peeling back the layers of that. Because see, I grew up with, seeing black men on the backs of pickup trucks going out into cotton and tobacco fields. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Now I've
Mm-hmm.
seen black folks, on chain gangs.
Mm.
I've seen it. I've seen it, you know. I've had, kinfolk who were locked up and go to visit, and they're like, young buck, don't get caught up into this. And I'm like, I'm trying not to, but where else is there to go?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where else is there to go? And they were like, I don't know, but you don't want to come down this road, I'm
Right.
telling you.
I know that's right.
So all that kind of leads to us being able to again, you know face our development, face our phases, notate them, write it down. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Explore it, grow from it. Because then when you are introduced to Arisha, when the dawning comes, your clarity is there. So you're not just doing it as a political statement, you're doing it as a human statement.